Boeing is in a lot of hot water right now. Right now, Boeing is receiving so much bad PR that it genuinely makes me wonder if the blowing whistleblower that died to a gunshot wound might have done it as an epic troll, as like a final send off, you know? I've done my whistleblowing. Now for the final you, okay? I'm going to implicate you and draw a lot of attention to you right as every single one of your planes explodes, right? This was this morning. United Airlines Flight 433 lands safely without panel in Oregon. A panel from the plane flew off. A gaping hole in the side of the plane. Where's the photo of that? I want to see the proper photo of that. 1 second. Boeing plane panel. Give me the one from the outside. I saw that photo. Can't hide it from me. They're trying to hide. Boeing is trying to hide it from me, folks. But Boeing's not. Listen, okay. If I die, all right, it wasn't suicide. Thank you. There we go. Just a casual little. This stuff happens to planes all the time. It's fine. Look at that, huh? Landed in Oregon. They managed to land safely. Apparently, they only found out the panel had tore off after landing, Love to be the air traffic control guy seeing the plane come in, and then it, turns to taxi, and you see there's just a gaping wound in the side of it. That's great. I love that. I love that for it. Maybe it's time to consider high-speed rail. Nah. So there's that, about a week ago, there was an incident on a Boeing flight where about 50 people were injured because the Dreamliner just suddenly dropped. And afterwards, Boeing issued a statement to the airline companies flying their planes to please, double please, check on the lock on the pilot's seat. Because apparently the sudden drop was, and I'm not kidding, the pilot, his seat slid forward and he had his hands on the thing. According to the report, a flight attendant hit a switch on the pilot's seat while serving a meal, activating a motorized feature that pushed the pilot into the controls that sent the plane into a nosedive. The switch has a cover and is not supposed to be used when the pilot is in the seat. So just like your stewardess's fat dumpy can tap a button and send your pilot into the shadow zone, instantly dropping the plane. 50 people were injured, by the way. It wasn't just turbulence. Like, it was a proper dive. They were doing, bombing runs over to New Zealand, somewhere over the Pacific. Not good. As a pilot, I can confirm that happens. Yeah. Recent poor grades in a government audit of manufacturing quality. I finally took the time to see that John Oliver bit that he very presciently did like a week ago, where he was explaining how a merger between Boeing and another airline company led to them prioritizing profits and shareholder gains over everything, and that then led to all of this. How's their stock doing? That's actually a good question. The market's not exactly. It could be doing a little bit better. It's done better in the past. Pretty big dip starting here in the 7th, which, not surprising. It's probably going to continue going down as the pressure ramps up, McDonnell Douglas, that was the other company they merged with. Even Buttigieg, the most do nothing, has been insisting that the company needs to comply with government inspections. Considering the fact that Boeing apparently also deleted security footage relevant to the claims made by the whistleblower, the latest obstacle is Boeing's lack of security camera footage inside its Renton, Washington factory. I know that place. As federal investigators struggle to identify the employees who worked on the aircraft's door plug. Oh, right. That's because the Boeing aircraft where the door ripped off, it turns out that it had a bunch of bolts missing. That's what happened to it. Just full on missing. And then they checked a bunch of other Boeing planes and found that some of them also had bolts that were missing or very, very loose. And the FAA actually grounded those planes so every one of them could be checked. So it's going very good right now. Anyway, the airline manufacturer has a policy of deleting footage after 30 days, apparently, according to Business Insider, on why Boeing has no idea how that aircraft didn't have the bolts. The National Transportation Safety Board revealed this difficulty with an auto-delete in a letter to the Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation. To this date, we still do not know who performed the work to open, reinstall, and close the door plug on accidental aircraft. Okay, this is insane to me, because even if you don't have security footage of the manufacturing line, would every plane part not have a serial number that you could use and directly trace to its being produced on a specific day in a specific plant? And then you could just go, who was active during that time? Like, they're building airlines here, not cheap plastic doodads, right? Like, you'd think that would be very possible to do. Boeing has informed us that they are unable to find the records documenting this work. A verbal request was made by our investigators for security camera footage to help obtain this info. However, they were informed the footage was overwritten. The absence of these records will complicate the NTSB's investigation moving forward. Boeing has been unable to provide information surrounding the incident, just like the door plugs bolts. The 737 MAX 9 in question had rivet repairs done in September 2023 before the plane was delivered to Alaska Airlines. For the repairs, workers removed and then reinstalled the plug. The aircraft manufacturer hadn't provided the NTSB a list of employees who completed the work. Investigators were able to identify the door crew manager, but he was on medical leave when the repair happened. Then who took his place? It's just the whole plant is like a Kafkaesque nightmare. Like, nobody knows who's in charge. You wander in circles for hours. You know, the Boeing facility, which, by the way, the Boeing facility in Renton might as well be the size of a city itself. It's colossal, you know. This is by design. Yeah, to, like, obfuscate, or at the very least, like, remarkable incompetence. The FAA has been questionably vague about this, and they have been for years. Well, Boeing's decline in quality has also been known for years. The guy on the plane had the door fly off, was saved by his seatbelt. Yeah. He would have been sucked out otherwise. So that's cool to think about, you know? Did you hear about how Boeing was using Dawn dish soap as lubricant? What? I've done that. I haven't done that. FAA saw Boeing supplier use liquid Dawn soap on 737 MAX door seal. Is that true? I mean, if the FAA is saying it, is that bad? I mean, if the FAA made note of it, I mean, presumably if the FAA is making note of it, there's some kind of problem with it, right? I doubt they would make note of that if they're, like, I don't know the process. It could be for leak testing, to blow air through it. If that's the case, that would be normal, right? That's normally how you do it. The slides say that Boeing had failed 33 of 89 product audits related to 737 MAX production, while Spirit failed 7 of 13 audits per the Times. Dude, is this, like, this is... Jesus. Yes, it's bad they use it as lube. I don't think soap is good lube, probably. Dish soap is lubricant for things as an odd. Is it not? Wouldn't you want to use, like, an actual lubricant? Something oil-based, not water-based? I mean, I feel. I don't know. I'm not an engineer. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not an engineer, but you don't have to be one to see that Boeing has been being a real gosh darn goofball lately. You hear that? Real gosh darn goofball. Can somebody confirm to me whether or not this is actually true? This sounds so stereotypical that it actually, like, it sounds fake. Boeing whistleblower warned family friend it's not suicide before death. Like, how recently? Like, the day before? ABC News. If anything happens, it's not suicide. Close family friend said he predicted he might wind up dead and that a story could surface and he killed himself. But when? Wait, the time difference is pretty important here, right? I read this might not be a very reliable source. Yeah, it just sounds too good to be true, right? The Boeing whistleblower died just before he was due to give another deposition in a lawsuit. Yeah. Well, he was found dead, like, when he didn't show up for that deposition. She says he predicted what may happen to him days before he left for his deposition. I mean, like, he had already testified against Boeing so much. What new information could he provide that would have been so devastating to Boeing that after all of the stuff that he had pointed out, they would kill him over that, you know? And how would they have known what he was going to say? I don't know. My current working theory is that this guy is just doing this to epically troll Boeing, and that's the funniest possible outcome. Imagine he said that as a genuine joke, then they didn't. Yeah. Just a lot of wacky behavior on all sides. He was going to give it under oath. Well, yeah, he'd been doing that for a while, right? It was not the witness deposition for the whistleblower case. That case ended years ago. This was a suit for damages against Boeing, if I recall correctly. And Boeing has money to spare. I don't know. It's always possible. You should just believe things that make the world seem more magical and whimsical. Again, this is one of those situations where, like, I don't know. It's not like it's a he said, she said, where if it turns out the one side is actually not guilty, then they're totally exonerated. Like, Boeing is either way. Or at the very least, like, either way, you know, all hatred is directed towards them. So it seems like kind of a side issue, if anything. The actual, like, technical... unfalsifiable argument as to whether or not it was suicide. I've heard the unknown and evil plane maker has been spotted on the Renton site loosening bolts. Ah, yes, of course. It's all happening at once. Like, I don't know. These planes have a sense of comedic timing, I'm telling you. Air travel is still the safest way to travel, like per mile, but Jesus. If the profit margins for these airlines are so small they have to constantly skip in mechanics and other services, even with government subsidies, why can't they just raise the price tickets? We're not talking about airlines. We're talking about airplane manufacturers right now. Boeing doesn't run the planes. They just sell them to airline companies that do. They're just the manufacturer. Though, actually, does anybody know when maintenance needs to be done on a plane, does Boeing send out Boeing engineers and mechanics, or do airlines have their own mechanic team that have been trained by Boeing in the operation of those planes? Okay, people are giving me contradictory answers, which I should have expected. Wonderful. Very confident, very contradictory answers. I worked ramp duty for a while. It's both. Both would make sense to me. Yeah, I just ask chat questions, and whatever a person says, I know that can't be true. So I just wait for every other possibility to be run through. Maintenance is airlines, repairs are Boeing. That would make sense to me. Yeah, like you would get maintenance guidelines and how to tighten up all the bolts and make sure everything's looking good. But if anything like properly needs look at, you would go to Boeing. That to me makes the most sense.